My name is Neil Boister. I'm a professor here in the Faculty of Law, Taiperinga Faculty of Law at the University of Waikato. I'm a newly appointed professor and my expertise is in transnational criminal law. Later this month I will be delivering my inaugural professorial lecture, which will be on the topic of the extradition of Kim Dotcom. Well, we'll be focusing on three things. The first dimension will be the background to the extradition, and a particular focus will be on why the United States is so interested in extraditing Mr. Dotcom and his fellow accused. I will be looking at the policy within the United States of maximizing protection of intellectual property and copyright protection, particularly through criminal prosecution. I will also be focusing to some extent on the increased cooperation in respect of the suppression of crime at a global level. In the second dimension, I will be looking at the policing aspects of the case here in New Zealand, the arrest of Mr. Dotcom, the seizure of his property, the finding that the warrants of arrest were unlawful, the surveillance of Mr. Dotcom, and again the finding that that surveillance was unlawful, the transfer of much of the material to the United States, and the inability of the New Zealand authorities to do much about that once it had gone. The third dimension of the talk will be about the extradition of Mr. Dotcom, and which is still yet to happen and has been pushed back into 2014. So to some extent this will be speculative, but I will raise the main technical problems around the extradition and go through the process without becoming bogged down in too much detail, finally coming up with perhaps some speculation on what might occur in the future, which is where I will conclude the lecture. Well, I think this subject is of interest to all New Zealanders because it involves police activity and policing within New Zealand on behalf of a major foreign ally. It's a difficult situation because most criminal trials of some sort or another are show trials in the sense that they are public exhibitions of or condemnations of a person's behaviour, but there's no trial going on here. What is occurring here is the arrest and the incarceration and the transport of this individual to another country to face trial there. So we're in fact being used solely as the venue for the enforcement of the law. So anyone who is interested in the enforcement of law against intellectual property or alleged intellectual property crime, the use of state power, would be interested in this subject. So if you're interested in the future of the internet, in the protection of intellectual property through the use of the criminal law, in cooperation between different countries in the policing of crime, in extradition itself, please come along to my lecture, which will be held at the Gallagher Institute for Performing Arts.